Okay, that's my fault. Ha ha ha! I thought you were gonna unmute me. Hi, everybody again. I was sitting there talking at y'all with absolutely nothing on. You couldn't hear me. You can tell it's been 2 months since we have live streamed, and I'm kind of getting back in the swing of things. I apologize. Gomenasai. So yeah, that 2 minutes of dead air. I'm almost up to Dan rather. Apparently, what it is that StreamYard, which is the platform that we use for live streaming, for sort of corralling all of our video and media and things like that, has changed its software platform. So it used to be that my director behind the screen could, whoops, and I've got more sounds going on. Let me turn that stupid thing off. Okay. Sorry about that. You probably couldn't hear that because it's coming through my headphones. Yeah, anyway, take a breath. They have changed the platform stream. So normally what it is the director unmutes me when we go live, and then they don't let us do that anymore. So I'm going to have to try to be more on the ball about that. But we are back. It has been 2 months. I apologize. As I was saying, when I was muted, if you can lip read, you probably noticed, I have health issues. I don't talk about them a lot on the show. I do talk about them in Japan Stories. But, you know, for the most part, I have cold problems. Cold causes significant damage to my body. And when we were having that crazy, crazy winter storm, and I was very cold, my body was substantially damaged. And yeah, that was not great. So now I have the chat up. I can see y'all. Please go ahead and comment in the chat so that I know you're there. I know there are a couple of you out there who do not have Twitch accounts yet. I know you're watching. Please at some point do create a Twitch account so that you can interact with me live, especially because today is very much an ideas show. So you guys can be doing that while I walk you through a couple of quick announcements before I get into really a hodgepodge of ideas. So first, I have to say that if you are a regular attendee of AkashiCon, we are sad to announce that we will not be having a live convention this year. Please check our announcement on our Facebook page and other social media. We just feel that it's not really safe enough to have hundreds of people in an indoor environment. Hi, Sophie, glad that you're here. So yeah, AkashiCon is going to continue to be here on Twitch live. We're not really going to be doing the same format that we did last year. Now that we do monthly shows, we are going to have some special events coming up, and certainly even in July. If you saw our New Year's Eve program, where we had lots of cool guests from Japan talking about Japan, we will be reprising that probably for an even longer time period, probably afternoon and evening, talking about Japanese stuff in Austin and guests from Japan and around the world. So we do have things coming for you. It's just not going to be like 3 solid days like we did in July of last year. So thank you very much for sticking with us, and we hope that you will continue to stay with us for AkashiCon Online's programming throughout the next year until we can have in real life activities. So let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. Hopefully you guys have had a little bit of chance to go create your Twitch accounts. If not, please do it at some point, because I really like to hear what you guys think, especially on an idea show like I'm doing now. So the topic of today's show is Sakura-inspired home decor. You can see I've changed my background temporarily. This is a fabric photo drop, and this is one of the things I will be talking about as some inexpensive home decor that we can deal with. Now, I just want to preface all of this by saying that if you don't like Sakura, don't worry. Sakura is just my personal favorite, but everything that we talk about will be ways that you can personalize and kawaii-ify your home in ways that are mostly renter-friendly as well. So I am a homeowner, but I know what it's like to live in apartments where the landlords are like, you can't put holes in the wall, you can't stick things up, you can't do anything like that. So I will hopefully be giving you ideas that you can use no matter where you are, and they're all fairly inexpensive, and also utilizing some craft tools and some techniques that you may already have in your arsenal. So today is going to be a little bit of a random showing off some of the ideas that I have for you, showing off some very simple craft things. That's why I didn't give you a supply list, because a lot of this is, you know, again, fairly basic techniques that you may know from another format, and maybe you haven't thought about how to apply them to home decor. So right now I have a challenge for those of you who are watching. If you do any kind of art or craft or hand making, and you do not know how to use that in your home environment, drop me a line, tell me what that is, because I bet I have created something using that technique, or I know how you can use it. Because we like to have our spaces, especially while we've been in isolation for the past year, and who knows how much longer we may continue to be either fully isolated or partially isolated. Our home is very important for our mental health, and seeing what's around you can really affect every aspect of your life, but especially while we're working from home and spending a lot of time looking at the same four walls. So I really want to hopefully inspire you to change things up. Maybe like me, you're getting a little bored, you need some inspiration, or you're upset because you can't travel and you want to bring a little bit of Japan or your favorite place, wherever that may be, into your home and into your living environment, so that you have, a little taste of what we could be. We can't go to hanami parties in Japan this year, but we can bring hanami to us. And as you can see, I have some little hanami trees here. These are actually belong to our director, but they are in my house at the moment. I have some beautiful little trees. And I will be doing over the next week a photo shoot of doing my own cherry blossom picnic in my yard. And so if you really like Sakura in particular and you like cherry blossom viewing, definitely come back on Sunday for Japan Stories. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And I will be talking all things Sakura, going to see them, going to hanami parties, eating Sakura flavored foods, Sakura foods that you can eat here in America, how to order them, where to order them from, showing you all kinds of different things like that. So if this particular flower is your jam, like it is my jam, then I have a double feature for you in the next 7 days. And you'll probably, learn far more than you ever wanted to know about it. But in the meantime, let's get back to the decor stuff. Now, I'm not going to switch to my overhead camera yet because my desk is covered in stuff. Because y'all may remember that one of my favorite hobbies is not only making, but it's collecting. And I am not just here to show off. Trust me, this is a small fraction of the things that I have that are Sakura related. The irony is I don't even like pink, but I love this flower so very much. And another reason why I'm talking about Sakura today from a crafting perspective and from a home decor perspective is this is the hot theme right now. Stores across the United States, something just fell down in my room, I don't know what it is. Stores across the United States are finally realizing that cherry blossoms, especially Japanese cherry blossoms, are a very hot topic. And so we're getting the accessories, we're getting t-shirts. This t-shirt, it's got Mount Fuji on it. This is from an American company. These little cherry blossom trees that are so adorable and cute are from IKEA. IKEA, not something you usually associate with Japanese themed merchandise, but I have a lot to show you from IKEA as well. So I really think that if you are a working artist or craft person and you are looking for some ideas that will, some ideas for things that might sell, especially during spring seasons, I think next year is going to be even bigger after the Olympics. Although the Olympics won't have a lot of spectators, it's still going to be on television. I think Japan fever, as the tourism board is hoping for, is really going to take off, and that Japanese inspired arts and crafts are going to be big sellers once we can have art craft fairs in person again. Speaking of art and craft fairs, Akashicon is hoping to have like an artist alley, an art and craft and handmade items event sometime this year. It will be outdoors for everyone's safety. We are just looking for a venue, but that will probably be in summer or early autumn. And we absolutely want to support our artists, but also give you that sort of ability to support artists and bring in some extra cool things into your home as well. So again, I really think that Sakura is an up and coming thing. And I hope that if you are looking for ways to make income, we can inspire you a little bit there. Looking at the chat, Misty says, love the look, but not 100% the taste. I will be talking about the taste more on Sunday, but that is understandable. So a lot of people don't like it. If you don't like floral flavors, then you probably won't like Sakura, especially because it's salty and floral and a tiny bit of fruit. But if you, for instance, don't like lavender flavors, jasmine flavors, rose flavors, you probably won't like Sakura, especially because there's a certain bitterness to it. The only Sakura food that I have to show you tonight is not actually a food, but I will bring this up close to the camera. This is a Sakura mochi, and as you can see, this is not a Sakura mochi. This is a replica of a Sakura mochi, and I will be talking about why I have this here in the home decor section later. But this is some of the plastic fake food that you get in Japan, and as you can see, there is a leaf on the outside. This is a Sakura preserved pickled leaf. It's used in the way that grape leaves are used in Greek cuisine to wrap things up. So sometimes it's the leaf that is eaten, sometimes it is the flower that is eaten, but they all have, because they're all pickled and preserved with salt, they all have a certain saltiness and a little bit of bitterness to it. So it is not for everybody. It is one of my favorite flavors, but I also like rose and lavender and jasmine and hibiscus and all kinds of other floral, violet, things like that. So, I will get into that on Sunday. Do live. I don't know what you mean by do live, Misty. Okay, I don't think she knows either. So I'm sure if I get an explanation, I will. Do love the teas. Yeah, I had Sakura tea just before we went live, which is absolutely phenomenal. I have about 7 different kinds of teas, and if you would like to have my recommendations and my just ratings, I guess I would say, I can show you a lineup of them. I can show you, because sometimes the tea, looking at them in a glass container is very beautiful. Guys, anything Sakura that you want to know, ask me. I will absolutely hit you up with that information on Sunday. In the meantime, I don't even know where to start. I do have some small craft items to show you, but I think first I need to talk about what Sakura looks like, what it looks like in artistic versions, and also how to tell the difference between Sakura, plum, and peach, because those tend to be sold from like Chinese stores. Maybe it's on Wish, maybe it's on Taobao, AliExpress. They'll be branded as Sakura or cherry blossom when really it's peach blossoms. So I think we're going to go ahead and switch over to my overhead camera. My desk is covered in stuff, so just bear with me on that. But I first am going to show you some of my precious. These are actual Someyoshino, which is the most common Sakura tree in Japan, that I pressed in 2019, which was the last time that I unfortunately was able to go to Japan. Here's some that is pressed open, one that is pressed flat. This is a different variety here. Let me see if I can slide this off very gently and open this up. Here's some more on the inside. And then I believe inside this paper, by the way, if you want to know what type of paper I use for pressing flowers, it is the calligraphy paper from Daiso that we used in our, there we go. There's some more of the pink ones. These are ones that we used in our paper dyeing project, which was last November. So if you go back and look at November's show, you can see this particular very lightweight paper that you can get at Daiso. As far as I know, it's always been in stock in the Austin Daiso every time we've gone in there. But as you can tell, the colors will change. But Sakura colors in general range between a sort of pale yellow green. They actually bred one in the 17th century to be this sort of pale yellow color, and then as it ages, it gets darker to a turmeric color. But for the most part, they are shades of pink and white. And this is probably the best one of the originals to show you. Let me bring this a little bit closer to the camera if I can without dropping them, and unfortunately I am dropping them a little. But some of the classic tells for what is a Sakura. Let me move this closer so hopefully you can see. You see, I don't know if you can tell, but these petals have a distinct shape to them. They are not quite round. Let me see if I can pull this one up closer. So I have discovered that if I move the camera down, everything gets out of focus. But if I move this up closer, maybe you can see. Let's try to look at these ones right in there. Can you see that that one near the fold has a little notch out of the end of it? It's this one right here. Keep your eye on that one. As I bring it closer, there's a little bifurcation at the tip of that petal. That is the classic tell for a sakura, for a cherry blossom. Now, not all the petals have it in an obvious way, but generally speaking, if you're seeing an artistic interpretation of sakura, if it doesn't have a little notch at the end, you can see it much better on this sort of big guy here, these little things on the end. That is 100% a representation of a cherry blossom, of a sakura. Now, you may still see them with round petals like this, and that happens. Well, you will also see, and let me go back to this particular pressed sheet. I don't know how well you can tell, but there are a lot of pistil and stamen. Those are the reproductive parts of the flower. If you don't remember your, junior high school biology, let me see if I can bring this up closer to the camera. Yeah, so this was pressed open, so you can really see these are dark and kind of brown in color. Some of them in pink flowers may be more yellow, but then when you see the artistic representations of them, they will usually be pretty obvious. And if they're more of a solid color like this one does have a notch on it, so that's again how you can know it's sakura. But if you were to see another flower like this paper towel, there's no obvious stamens or pistils, and there's no notch at the end. So I know this paper towel was sold as a sakura print, but this also has 6 leaves, so it's not sakura. Sakura have a variety of different leaf petal numbers, but 6 is not a number they usually have. The most common is 5 or 10. They can have up to 42, but 6 petals like that, rounded petals, not going to be a cherry blossom. They'll still sell it to you as a cherry blossom item, but be careful. I'll also show you my bracelet. I bought this bracelet off of Wish. It was sold as a preserved cherry blossoms. They have very round petals. I don't know if you can see. Those petals are round. There is no notch in them. So these are actually likely to be peach. In China, plum flowers, which are usually white or red, when you see my background normally, you see all those beautiful red blossoms in the background. Those are plum flowers, and they blossom in February. So they're about a month before sakura season. And then peach tend to be coexisting with cherry. Now, peach flowers tend to be much more vibrant pink and have a less of a range of color. Cherry blossoms can be red, although it's unlikely. They can be yellow or green, but they are mostly, as I said, shades of white and pink. Let me pull up some more to show you. So again, oh, this is what fell over. I have a whole bunch of artificial sakura blossoms. Let's get, okay, first, let me get my precious pressed babies out of the way. These, by the way, I'm absolutely going to put into resin crafts. I have not done it yet because they all have to be coated with something like Mod Podge first. And I just haven't gotten around to that at this particular point in time. I should. It's been 2 years, but you know me, I am the queen of lazy. So let me put these precious things over here on top of the washi tape. And let me just show you one more before I forget. These are more sakura that I dried in their whole form. They have been beaten up as they have gone through the, here we go, that's a better looking example of it. They've been dried in a microwave and they have been brought, in my luggage. So they have kind of gotten crushed a little, but these were a very vibrant pink at the time that I got them. Obviously, most flowers discolor unless you take certain steps to preserve them right at the beginning. I have not had the opportunity to have the right tools while I've been in Japan. So as you can tell, all of my sakura have, for the most part, discolored. But this is the double blossom. This is later in the season. So these are April sakura. And again, you'll see all of these on Sunday. But the number one most popular one, let me see amongst all of this, all of my stems. Obviously, I have been planning for my own indoor hanami for quite some time. And I've dropped some already. Here we go. By the way, some of these came from IKEA, some of these came from Daiso, some of them came from Wish, and I also know that Michaels has some this year. I have not yet been to Michaels, but let me see if I have here. This is the best replica that I have found of the Some Yoshino variety. 85% of the ornamental blooming cherry trees in Japan are Some Yoshino, and they look like this. They are white with the faint bit of pink and the brown pistil and stamen on the inside. So this really, from a few inches away, which is what you're seeing it at, looks really authentic. You'll notice there are only a very few amount of small green leaves. This will be important when we talk about how Sakura is usually represented, because a lot of times in art, you'll see the big leaves, the big, spiky edged leaves like they eat later on with these branches. And that doesn't happen very much in nature. Only when the blossoms are about done will you start seeing the leaves be bigger. But usually you've got these tiny little baby leaves. Like right now in Texas, you look outside, the elm trees, my nemesis, have tiny little baby leaves coming out now. And so you will start, as these blossoms, they'll bloom originally, there'll be no leaves on them. And then as they bloom, they'll get tiny, tiny little leaves. So if you see, something that is primarily green with little tiny bits of blossoms, either they're intentionally trying to represent the end of the season, the end of the Sakura season, or they just don't know what they're doing. And in my personal opinion, it's more often the latter. They just think it's some other kind of tree. But let's look at some of the other options. Sometimes they have them like this. This is some of the blossoms from IKEA. So it's odd because this is from IKEA and this is from IKEA, but they are different blossoms. Let me show you this one. And I didn't realize that until I got them both home. But this pale pink is not going to be a Some Yoshino, but it is more of a Yamazakura, which is a mountain sakura. The only reason I'm telling you this, I know your eyes are glazing over at this point, is that I want you to feel that as an artist, as a maker, you can pick any in this color palette, anything whatsoever. It's going to be okay. Most Americans are not going to know. They're not going to know a peach from a plum from a sakura, and they're also not going to know like a single petal from a double petal. I just want to show you some of the options that are out there. This was sold to me as a cherry blossom. I'm pretty sure this is peach. But sometimes you will get it, and these have little fluted edges. They don't have the little tips on the end. This is 99% likely to be an actual peach blossom. Now, does that mean I don't take these ones apart and use them in other ways? Oh, no, I definitely do. Let me clear off the table for a bit. But what I was trying to say is that that is what the real ones look like. But then you'll get Daiso, which is selling something like this. Again, I don't know that there is a white with a particularly yellow set of pistils and stamens. These are more from Daiso. Daiso sells them in 3 colors, white, pink, and this darker pink. Anything goes. Absolutely anything goes. If you want to make them purple, there are purple cherry blossoms. If you want to make them green, there absolutely are green cherry blossoms. They're kind of a pale green initially, kind of a greeny yellow. Honestly, they're not my favorite, but they were bred specifically to give a little bit of contrast during the season, to have a little something different to look at. But let's look at, I keep dropping things, y'all. Didn't even get a sip of water. Let's look at some ways that Sakura is portrayed artistically. This is from IKEA. I haven't pulled it out of the package yet. These are some of the napkins. Why am I showing you paper napkins? Well, if you have some blank wood in your house and you would like to decorate it in some way, and maybe you're thinking decoupage. Yeah, decoupage could be an interesting way, but how do we get enough of one pattern in a thin enough weight of paper for it to decoupage nicely. Paper napkins, especially if it's a 2-ply paper napkin, you just peel off the thin layer and then you can decoupage this on and you can have an entire bookcase, chest of drawers, large blanket box, anything else. You can have all with one pattern very inexpensively and have it really match. Also, you'll see this is kind of an orangey coral color. And you're like, well, you were just talking about how all these other Sakura are white and pink and red. Why is this a coral color? I will show you the photo on Sunday, and you have already seen it before if you've seen my hand dyeing, some of my hand dyeing discussions. But when you take Sakura wood and use it to dye things with, it comes out these pale orangey, soft peach coral colors. I don't know why. I don't know what the chemical mechanism is, but that's why sometimes you will see people throwing in a lot of these peach colors, especially in the clothing. So I have a Sakura jacket that I will show you later. I should have brought it out. I didn't. But yeah, it's got Sakura on it, and it is, again, kind of an orangey, peachy tone to it, which, again, not really my favorite thing, but I love Sakura so much, I'm willing to forgive it. But again, back to what I was saying about the artistic representation. You'll see here there are no notches on the ends of these flowers, but that doesn't matter because you can still tell it's Sakura because of these many, many, many obvious pistils and stamen here. You've got the dark lines surrounded by dots. That is one of the easiest, most convenient ways to show that it is a Sakura. Let me see if I can find a piece of paper. Of course, I can't find a piece of paper because it's underneath my feet. Here we go. This is not a piece of paper, it is the back of craft foam, but that will do. So when you are trying to evoke a Sakura, normally you will have either okay, that's not gonna let me grab. Okay, this is an actual paper on the back of this one. It's going to have either a sort of teardrop shape, and then you will either cut a small slit. Let's see if I can bring this closer. You either cut a small slit with your scissors here, or you'll have sort of a teardrop shape and then cut a V notch out of it, or you can just have a round petal shape and cut a bigger notch out of it. All of those will work and be authentic to Sakura. But remember, most Sakura are 5 petals. They are not evenly sized in any way, but you will see in the middle a bunch of lines radiating out from the center, and then dots at the end of each line. And that is a quick and dirty way to represent Sakura. You don't have to go back and add the little notches in if you're hand drawing it, especially in watercolor and other media like that. People don't really do that. They just are going to add the very obvious dark lines in the center so that everyone knows at that point, this is definitely a Sakura. It's not a peach. It's not a plum. You can see here on some fabrics that I picked up, this is a fabric I bought off Wish. They have the very clear notches on the end. They do have the pistil and stamen in here, but they've been represented much more faintly, and they've only got it on the big flowers. The other ones, they don't need it. You can still tell what this is supposed to be. Let me show you. Here's some more. Here's a whole pack of little tiny Sakura flowers that I have purchased, as you could tell. Let me turn this upside down where it's right side up for you guys. 540 yen. This was about $5 for a pack of 6 fat 8s. If you're a quilter or if you buy quilt fabric, you'll know what a fat 8 is. It's an 1/8 of a yard, but not in a little skinny line, like if they were just measuring an 1/8 of a yard up from the bottom, but it's been cut into quarters, and then the quarters been cut into half, and it becomes something like this. But every single one of these has a different representation of Sakura on it. Again, I'm just trying to go quickly so that you, if you're planning on making your own, have some idea of how it is represented traditionally in Japan. Now, obviously, I really do not want you to feel like you have to do it in a traditional format, you know, in a way that someone is going to say, yeah, that looks like a particular print that you could have bought in Japan. Don't worry about that. I just want you to have some exposure to how they represent it. These are teeny tiny little flowers, but you can still tell with the, I hope that yeah, now it's focusing. You can still tell it's got the little dots and the little lines to represent the pistil and stamen. You can't even tell where the edges of those blossoms start and stop to know if there's a notch there, and that's not important. You can still look at this and know this is supposed to be a sakura. Why are there so many sakura things here? It's because it is the national flower of Japan. Actually, it's a little bit creepy when you get into some of the history of sakura, and I don't want to bring the tone down, so I'm not going to go into that. But certainly it goes, there's a lot of war imagery that involves sakura in it. But that's, most people aren't aware of that now. It's not talked about anymore. That was World War II and before. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to feel guilty about that. I certainly don't. But it is the national flower. So in the same way, Texas, we have our yellow rose, and you can buy yellow rose merchandise all over the place, especially around certain holidays. You can buy sakura stuff year round in Japan at any time because it is just so incredibly popular. And especially because it is associated with renewal and rebirth and reincarnation. It has a lot of deep and meaningful imagery. Their year traditionally begins, so certainly their school year still begins during sakura season, sakura blooming season. So that's just considered kind of winter is over, and now we're starting afresh. The same way we would maybe think of spring cleaning, new school year, new start, fresh start. All of these are represented by the sakura, and I happen to really love that. So that's why I collected so much stuff. But y'all don't necessarily want to see everything that I collected. I will show you one last thing about artistic representation, is that you will often see petals by themselves like this. This is a Post-it note. Again, you can see here how they represented the pistil and stamen just with white space, with negative space. But this is a petal on its own, and you will very often see just a bunch of petals scattered. Certainly at the end of the season, petals are blowing in the wind. They're all over the ground. They are, you don't see the whole blossoms anymore. You're mostly seeing these. And that is kind of like a reminder that all things do come to an end. And one of the reasons why the sakura is so beloved is because it is a 2-week season. It's not like rose, where they'll bloom all summer and into the autumn. It is a very short but very beautiful blooming period, and it's meant to remind us to appreciate ephemeral things and to really be in the now and be in the present, and accept the fact that good things end, bad things end. It's very Buddhist, and I will stop boring you with all of that. But hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an idea of how cherry blossoms are represented. Now let's talk about how to turn this motif into things for your home. The easiest way is just to buy stuff, right? I mean, we all love a cheat. We love an easy and expensive way to do it. And I am certainly one of those. So if we can just briefly put the camera back up to me full screen so I can show you my background. If you are a renter, and you want to have a huge image of something, this is a scene from Tokyo with all of these beautiful, they have color corrected this image so it looks pink. Honestly, I've been here in this particular place. These are white cherry blossoms, but that's why they show it to you at sunset so that everything has that sort of nice pinky glow to it. That's, again, that is artistic license, artistic representation, and I totally support that. But what you need to know about this particular backdrop is it was $12. And it is like 7 feet wide by 6 feet tall. So if you want to cover up a big, ugly wall in your house, which I certainly do, get one of these. I have another one. Here we go. I'm always showing this one in my Austin Fiber Artist Call. I know some of y'all who are watching here silently are from Austin Fiber Artists, and you certainly have seen me show this before. This is another one. These are sold as photo backdrops. Cover up my face. Y'all don't need to see my face. You want to see this? This was $9. This is nylon canvas. It has Here we go. Am I back? Yes. I apologize. My internet has been really shady for the past couple of days, and there's not much I can do about that. Anyway, back to what I was saying. When I moved in this house 5 years ago, I hope you can see me now. I'm seeing myself in StreamYard. I'm not seeing me on Twitch. But if you guys can see me on Twitch, please go ahead and comment so that I know that you're there. I'm assuming that you can see and hear me, and it's just my own internet that is causing problems. But yeah, this is another photo backdrop that was very inexpensive. When I moved into this house 5 years ago, the previous owner had touched up the paint, and they had touched up semi-gloss paint with the flat sample that they'd gotten, and it looks horrible. Now, we are only finally getting around to completely repainting because this is a 2-story living room and it's a lot of really high ceilings to get up in. So I've just taken fabric and these backdrops, and they are just pinned up all over the house. Now, again, I hope someone can tell me if you are seeing me on Twitch and then it's not just StreamYard. Let me go ahead and reboot my Twitch stream. Hopefully you can see me over there. I am not seeing myself over there at all. You want to see? Yeah, okay. So I guess y'all can see me. I do not know what on earth is going on with my internet. And let me just give me 1 second to get back onto Twitch where I can see things. I can see you in the chat room. I cannot see me, but hopefully that's okay. Oh, you want an ad break now? Okay, there we go. Everything is back now. Again, that's my internet. I am in a very special part of Austin, that does not have fiber. Oh, and now we have our Akashic Online banner. Thank you, Director Sun. Now, where was I? Yeah, so Amazon, wish some of the other discount places online. Look for photo backdrop. Look for cherry blossom. Look for Sakura. You can find these. You can cover up a huge swath of your wall. And again, the whole renter-friendly thing. A lot of leases will say you can't put holes in the wall, but I have found that if they're very, very tiny holes, no one's going to notice. Obviously, this is completely on your conscience, whether you want to do that or not, but I use push pins, thumbtacks, like you would for a bulletin board. And that can hang fabric. You just have about 1 thumbtack every 12 to 14 inches. And that's good. And these are fairly lightweight pieces of fabric, but you can have any type of fabric with thumbtacks. The pins are so tiny. I've never had a landlord catch me. Another inexpensive home decor item that is just a thing to purchase. I do not have any of these to show you. I know you're shocked, right? It's something I haven't bought. I can't believe it either. But wall decals, the kind that you can stick on and that are removable. The reason why I don't have any is because here in Central Texas, we have a weird fetish with orange peel wall texture. If you don't know what that is, if you know what popcorn ceilings were like in the sort of 70s and 80s and early 90s, this isn't quite that level, but it is a sprayed on plaster texture that goes on top of drywall that makes your walls look like the peel of an orange. Honestly, I have that going on in my face. I don't need it on my walls. But because the walls are textured, stick-on decals don't stick. And then I was sitting here thinking of how I was going to explain that to you today, and looking at my window going, yeah, I could just stick them on the window, couldn't I? Yeah. So I will be purchasing some soon that will go in my window so it can look like I have cherry blossoms as I'm looking out my bedroom window. Remember, I was just talking about IKEA. Oh, I was going to pull this up and I didn't. You can go to the IKEA website and see that they have cherry blossom curtains for $20. They are beautiful. I can show you a photo of it later. It's currently on my phone, but my phone is this camera up here. So sorry about that. $20, beautiful curtains. Again, they have this sort of delicate texture like they had on the, but it's reverse. So it is a white background with a very pale pink flower, but again, with the dark stems. It is really lovely, $20, simple. It really lightens up your entire room. Unless you like blackout curtains, then I would use them as sheers underneath other curtains. IKEA also now sells double curtain rods. So you can have 2 rods with a light, semi-transparent curtain on the closest to the window and a blackout curtain on the inside of your room so that you don't have to worry about, you can have something that people can't see through, but you can still get light coming through. That's what we have on our front window because we don't like people walking up and down the street, seeing into our house, but we like to be able to see out so we can see if the mail truck's there or whatever. Okay, we can switch back to the other camera now. I will show you a couple of other things. Again, this is just sort of basic. No, come on, can we see? Is the other camera still there? Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe, okay, let me go switch my StreamYard. There we go. I'm going to try again. I'm going to put the other camera back up. So that is, I don't know why it kicked me out of one and not the other, but hopefully now, let's mute that. There we go. Hopefully now we can switch to the other camera. Can we do that? I think let's everybody give a big round of applause to the wizard behind the curtain who manages all this for me, because there's no way I would be able to do that. And that camera is also the wrong camera. There we go. Yay. Okay, let's put the other camera up. Again, let's look at cheap and expensive ways that you can just buy some things. I showed you, you know, some little stems from Daiso. Now, I've checked the Austin Daiso. Okay, I didn't check it. I sent my husband to check it. I've been self-isolating since last March. But I sent my husband to Daiso, and they didn't have any cherry blossom stuff yet. So we're hoping. I have also checked the IKEA website. Sorry, not IKEA, the Daiso website, and it's sold out there. So I don't know, but I'm going to show you some Daiso merchandise. So hopefully you can go to Daiso where everything is very inexpensive. I have some lovely home decor items. These are plates, bowls, little trays. These were all $1 a piece from Daiso. I actually got these at Daiso in Plano. I'm hoping they will come to Daiso Austin. I do not know. I know that this particular bowl style has been on the Daiso website for quite some time, but it sells out quickly. But there is a whole collection of those. IKEA has a plate collection. IKEA has a mug collection. They're a little bit more expensive. I think it's 4 plates for $10, but still quite affordable. Here's one that I have that is Hello Kitty, and this has the gold rim on it. So that is less affordable, but I think it was probably $6. Now, I would put this on the wall. I have tiny little plate stands, and this actually would live on the wall of a bookcase or something like that. Here's some more options. These are just little cups. In fact, someone was saying, why didn't I get the little cups from IKEA? And the answer is because I have all of these little cups. I have sake mugs and things like that. Again, these were $1 a piece. So if you just want to have a little something that you don't have to make yourself, I just want to point you in the direction of Amazon. I want to point you in the direction of IKEA and in the direction of Daiso, because they've got you. Again, I was shocked by IKEA because that is completely new for them. Let's talk about now ways that you can make your own items. First, I'm going to show you a store-bought one. So right here, these are some really cute little Sakura lights. I bought them. I paid for them. They were $12, something like that, whatever. But I was thinking, you know, what if you don't have room to have different lights for different seasons? In my house, we have bats and ghosts, and HEB sold in the Christmas section one time some cow skulls. I don't know how that's a Christmas thing, but they do. But we have all these different seasonal lights, and we put them up and take them down. Maybe that's hassle for you and you don't want to. Maybe you just have one set of lights like this. These go on sale after Christmas at IKEA for 50 cents. And you want to make something like this, but you want to have it so that you can change out what the themes are. Let me see, are the here's what I made earlier section, which is underneath my table. My table is so tiny, y'all. Yeah. See if I can do this without knocking things over. Here we go. I will get back into these later. These are also from Daiso, but I'll show you things. This is actually what I'm making. But the real reason I'm showing you this is because I have already moved a bunch of items, pre-punched holes. So again, do a little bit of shuffle here so that I can get back to the table. Bye-bye IKEA items. You don't need to be seen just right now. The rest of you are actually going to get used. So when I move to a new house, I'm getting a bigger table, y'all. I know you need it. And certainly once we get to get into spring and I can start, well, I mean, it's a little bit springy now, but it was certainly when it gets into a little bit nicer weather, a little bit less pollen, maybe I'll try doing these outside. So we'll see. Certainly I could be using just my phone camera at that point, and maybe the internet won't go down so much. That would be nice. But again, I'm just showing you more stuff that I got at Daiso. I'm just showing off at this point. There's really no reason for it. Let me go back to what I'm actually showing you as the project. So first off, if you wanted to, and you're certainly absolutely 100% welcome to do this if you'd like, there are wonderful tutorials for making cherry blossoms out of origami. I had to postpone last month's origami show that will be coming up, I think probably in May. So I'm not going to show you that today because I'm going to show you origami things for making jewelry, and certainly the cherry blossoms, one of the motifs I will show you. But if you want to make an origami cherry blossom, it actually would work exactly the same way. Instead, I'm going to do a more lazy way, which is to use paper punches. Now, I have a variety of punches that I have purchased, mostly from Amazon. Some, I think this one was from Daiso, I'm not sure. They also have another set currently on Amazon that is different sizes that I don't have yet, and obviously I need to collect, right? But this is a 2-inch size and a 1-inch size. These are the ones I am mostly going to be using for this project. Again, don't feel like you have to buy a punch. You can certainly hand cut them. You can do origami versions, anything like that. Again, you also don't have to do Sakura if you want, you know, roses, or if you want whatever motif, maybe you like little hearts or unicorns or whatever it is. All of these things are acceptable. So I want you to be able to now take some of these ideas of Sakura and expand them into how you want to use your own household materials and decorate your own house. In this case, I took 3 different shades of origami paper, and then I took 3 different sizes of paper punches. I cut out 2-inch size, the 1-inch size. I love this particular Deco Pop one because it also embosses. Let me see if I can get it close enough. Can you see there? It has embossed the pistils and stamens in there. I think that's just really adorable. And then I have the teeny tiny ones. These are a 1/4 inch. Honestly, I would only use this for confetti. I punched it out because I thought I could get some use out of it, but in reality, they're just too small for me to do anything with other than make stickers out of. Now, remember, when we're talking about stickers, just to digress briefly, remember in our January show, we talked about taking washi tape, putting in freezer paper, and then using your paper punches to create custom stickers. That is also still in the game, and you can use it to decorate your windows, your phone, anything else that you would put washi paper on. So there are multiple ways if you do decide to buy this particular paper punch or similar paper punch, multiple ways you can use it. But I am just going to take 2 different sizes of these sakura flowers. I'm going to set it down because I need to use this ultra mat that is underneath because I need to do a little bit of cutting. Now I have my lights here, my discount lights. What is important to know when you're picking a set of lights is you need them to be LEDs, not the old school incandescent ones that we had, you know, with the fairly big bulbs, you know, where if one bulb falls out, the whole string stops working. Not those, because those will get hot while they are on. LEDs stay cool to the touch. That's why you'll often see LEDs in things like these, but it also cannot be the LEDs that are inset into the wire. I don't know if I turn this backwards, if you can see. There is no bulb sticking out. It's just this tiny little dot that is on the wire itself. That doesn't really work for this particular technique. It needs to be the kind that has some kind of bulb that pokes out, but it has to be an LED bulb. Again, I see these quite often. They have them at HEB and Christmas time. They have them at IKEA all year round, as far as I know. They just happen to go on sale after Christmas. But, you know, you can find them. They're mostly battery operated. They do have some solar options. I would not do this with paper to put outside because your paper is obviously going to get wet and soggy. But to go back to my design concept here, Remember I said that some flowers have, one blossom. You can just use one color here. Perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and use two because I think it's just a little bit more interesting. Here, maybe I'll just do two pinks. And I'm going to rotate them just a little so that they don't line up. Now, I need to somehow get this flower onto this size bulb. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find something to punch a hole with. Now, I have some options for hole punching because I buy a lot of stuff. This is a product called a screw punch. It's also called a Japanese screw punch. Why? I'll explain in a minute. I mean, obviously, it was invented in Japan. This is Martha Stewart brand, so it doesn't have to be from Japan, but it is called a screw punch. What does it do? I'll show you on just one of these here. Let's see if you can see that. You put this in the center, and it is like a drill, but you just press down with the back of your hand, and he just cut the hole for you. Cut it off center, but that's okay. If you just want one little hole, there we go. You can stick your flower in there. I am going to take a pen and stick the pen into this hole that I've already made and kind of press up the petals a little bit. Hope you can see that. I'm just pressing up. I'm not doing it with any specific shape. And then I'm going to push this onto my light. What I would do then, if I want it to sit down further onto the stem like that, I would add a little bit of washi tape. I would probably cut the washi tape down. You'll know watching me find the end of the washi tape is not the most interesting thing in the world, but just tear off a little bit of washi tape like this, small amount, and I'll wrap it around the edge of the light. I don't want to block the light in any way, and that is going to keep it okay. I have to press it on firmly. Washi tape, is very low tack, very low adhesive. But the point of this is to make it so that this is a little bit bulkier on here than the flower hole is. I would then go ahead and put washi tape on the bottom as well, so that this isn't going to slide around. Now, in this case, I don't need to because this has electrical tape, but this is now not going to fall off. I can wiggle it around, and the washi tape is holding the blossom perfectly in place. I can crunch it up a little, and you can start to see how that is already making something quite similar to these store-bought plastic ones. I think it will look even better if I put two petals together. Now, well, two sets of petals together. Now, one thing to note, if you are using a screw punch like this, it comes with 3 different sizes in here. And what I did was I just took the tips and I took the LED, I'm not sure how well you can see that, took the LED and I stuck the LED inside the hole to see, that's not big enough, that's not big enough. Put that back on there. This is the section that I went with. And I was like, oh, this now fits in that hole. So I know that hole is big enough to get on there. If I wanted a smaller hole, obviously just choose my smaller bit. You can use a drill, you can use a Dremel. Any of that will work, but then you need an appropriate subsurface to, to drill into. You don't want to do it on your cutting mat because even though it's a self-healing cutting mat, it will not heal from a drill or a Dremel. Let me put this other. That was how simple it was. Same like changing the chuck or using the chuck to change a bit on a drill. I'm going to use this smaller hole. Try to line it up evenly. I'm not great at that. Can y'all see? Let me see if I can get my hand out of the way. Try to get that in the middle. Push down. Pull up. There's the hole. Now remember, this is intentionally a little smaller than this light is. But I think if I finesse it a little, do one layer at a time, maybe I can get it to open up just enough that it'll stay on. It does tear ever so slightly, but I think that's not really a problem. I think once I poke the flower up a little, it will not be as obvious. But I also, as I'm doing this, I feel like it's not really any particular advantage. I think the main reason, I just want to show you this, so it doesn't matter if you have exactly the right screw punch, exactly the right bit size, you can go ahead and finagle them a little and get them into the right size. Now, you don't want to sit here and watch me do this all night, but there we go. I've now got them on there. They're a little bit tighter. And now as I squish them up around my hand, I'm holding on, I don't know if you can see, I'm holding on to the bulb with my right hand and pinching the flower up with my left. And you could use a little bit of tacky glue if you wanted to make this permanent. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would still go ahead and put the washi tape on to make it look like my center. Can you add additional pistils and stamens? If you want to, fine. But I think this is a nice look. Offset the petals a little, and it can look like a double petaled, as they call it, a 10 petaled sakura flower. You can go all the way around your light string, and there you go. This was 50 cents for the light. These are punches I already had, and I have my own custom-made little lights that I can change out with the seasons. I can have whatever my favorite motifs are and have a little bit of extra cheer in my bedroom or as a reading lamp. We like having, so in the UK, these are called fairy lights. They're not called Christmas lights, they're called fairy lights. And we like having fairy lights in the bedroom just for a little bit of soft lighting after we've turned out the overhead light. If you're trying to find your way to, go to get in bed and that kind of thing. Now, remember we talked about how there were extra petals left over. Certainly when you buy artificial flowers, you know how petals are always falling off. You can do the exact same thing with those. So those pink ones, this is one of those pink ones that I thought was not quite right. Didn't quite look like a sakura to me, but just pop that on there. It's already got a hole in there. I would again use some washi tape to secure it or some tacky glue if I wanted to make it permanent. And there we go. Fabric works perfectly fine on these. Paper works perfectly fine as long as you are using an LED light, not the incandescent light. So it doesn't heat. You shouldn't have a fire hazard. I would not leave it turned on unattended just in case something does overheat. But I've never had a problem with LEDs, and LEDs are never supposed to heat. If you do have an LED that has any kind of warmth to the touch, there is some kind of short or fault in the system. So I would be very careful with that. But, like a candle, you just don't want to walk away from it. Another thing that I didn't mention is if you do not have a punch, you can just go online and search for Sakura clip art or Sakura outline, Sakura embroidery pattern, something like that, and trace them and cut them out by hand. I don't like doing all that work, but you certainly can. You can also, if you don't have a screw punch. So this is a fancy thing. I love it. I use it a lot. I make jewelry. And when we do the origami jewelry discussion in May on this show, we'll be seeing a lot more of the screw punch. But there's also this. Remember I said this is called a Japanese screw punch. This is called a European screw punch. As you can see, there are screws. You just twist it down and it punches holes. It's meant to punch much thicker material. This is mostly for paper or fabric. This is meant for punching holes in, say, coins that you've purchased, or not, you just leftover coins, or sometimes resin pieces, things like that. So this is meant so that you can add a lot of pressure onto a very small surface. These particular punches that I have are very small. I think this is 1/8 of an inch diameter. This is 1/16 of an inch diameter. They're meant for jewelry, so it's not really the size that you would use for this. This was about 3/16 thereabouts that it took to do this. So, but you can buy the European screw punches that have different size diameters on there. Also, if you have a crocodile, some other scrapbooking tools, those all work as well. And if you have none of them, you're still good. Let me show you. Let me pull up my trusty little child safety snap off Olfa tool. You just want to find the exact middle, get your blade, your snap off blade, and make the tiniest that you possibly can little crosshatch. It's so small that you can barely see it on there, but you want it to be I made it a little bigger so that you can probably see on camera, but you want it to be really, really tiny. In this case, you will probably need the pen to go ahead and open it up. I have that tucked into the palm of my hand, but just to show you, you can use the pen. I don't know if you can see that well on camera, but the pen is now sticking all the way through. It opens up that hole to approximately the right diameter. You can again do your scrunch and pop it onto your light, add your washi tape, and as they'd say in the UK, and Bob's your uncle. Except Bob's my dad, so I don't say that very much. But still, there you go, you're done. So you do not need punches. You do not need specialty cutters. You just need some cool paper. And even if you have white paper, remember I taught you how to dye it? So hopefully you remember that. If not, go back and watch November's show. You can take the white paper, dye it to whatever color, pink, or you can have white ones, because, you know, we did say back an hour ago that white cherry blossoms are perfectly acceptable, and 85% of all the cherry blossoms in Japan are white with the tiniest little pink. So hopefully that gave you one idea. Let's talk a little bit more about some other things that you can do to customize in your home. Now, y'all still haven't given me any crafts that you don't think work for home decor. So if you're listening and you still think you have something, you're like, oh, I do glass, or I do, you know, whatever. You think it's something that you think maybe doesn't work, hit me up, because I'm pretty sure I can prove you wrong. But let's talk a little bit about applique. I am not going to go into a full applique tutorial. I can do that in a future show if you would like, but it's a little bit more in depth than it would necessarily be right now. I like to make pillows, and I like to applique pillows. I use a lot of pillows in my everyday life. I've got a pillow behind this chair. I've got pillows behind me. When I travel on the plane, I usually have 4 pillows, pillows. Love pillows. Love handmade pillows as well. So I would find a nice background. Unfortunately, this store is no longer in business. Hey, sorry about that, y'all. It is definitely my internet being wonky again. I now have to set up the calf cam or the overhead camera again. I have switched to my phone, so if you guys are getting lower video or audio quality, that is because I am now working on LTE internet as opposed to my Wi-Fi, but obviously the Wi-Fi is just not behaving itself today. So let me see if I can get the overhead camera re-going, because it's not wanting to play well with others either. Oh, that's why I've got something, I've got a weird tab going on. Come on, let me quickly copy and paste back in here. La la la, I'm just cursed. That's so 2021 for you, isn't it? So for those of you who are still with me, I appreciate you. I realize that most of you have kind of gotten a little bit bored. There we go. Okay, back to applique, and now I have to remute my tab. There we go. Now I'm not hearing myself in my ear, so whew, that was fun. So back to the concept of applique. I would take any motif that you like. Again, I'm going to use Sakura because that's my thing. I'm going to take probably some of these artificial flowers. I think these are leftovers from Daiso, the things that have fallen off, because they've already got the little stems on there. But I would take these and I would go ahead and just affix them to my pillow background before I assemble the pillow. I'm just going to take, this is my fabric, I'm going to go ahead and put my applique on there. Now, I also really like the idea of, instead of it being the full flower, I just want to do a, let me see if I can find what I'm looking for. I just want to do a petal motif. So I like to use some scrap paper, or in this case, a color that I maybe don't like. Just so you know, this is wool felt, 100% wool felt. I prefer 100% wool felt for applique because it's not going to pill like polyester felt will. Polyester felt, if you rub on enough, have a lot of friction, it's going to pill up, and I don't particularly like that. But wool felt, unlike regular fabric, is not going to fray, and you don't have to finish the edges. You don't have to needle turn them, so you don't have to do quite as much work to finesse them. But I like to take a scrap piece of felt to do a template. And so I'm going to show you how I would do an individual Sakura petal. And I would just take them. Again, you're kind of going for a teardrop shape, like so. I'm sorry, this is upside down, but my camera only goes the other direction. You definitely do not need these to be uniform in any way. Usually these petals are, they've fallen. By the time you're seeing them, they're discarded. They have lost their beautiful original petal shape. I'm just going to cut the little notch out of the top. I would cut then, either use this as a stencil. Finish cutting that notch where I can see it properly. I can either use one particular petal as a stencil, reshape it as I might desire, and make a bunch that are similar, or make a bunch that are all random shapes and sizes. That's a bit more natural. Use the dark brown for a stem, cut it very finely. And I like to pin my applique in place. Again, I would do it with the actual color that I want my petals to be in, but this is, I like to use scraps for when I'm just testing my shapes. And I would have a falling petal scene on this pillow, and maybe one or two full-size flowers that I would use something like, tiny desk again. I could use this as a stencil to cut a full-size flower and then have my petals be smaller and have them scattered around. That is, again, just one more idea of a way that you could customize things. But let's talk more about ways that you can use these as stencils that you've already cut out. Or not as stencils, I should say. Some of this will be used as stencils, some of this other ways that you can use the craft punch. So I do not have with me at the moment any craft paint. But if you have a craft paint or a fabric paint, obviously you can use this as a stencil, mark it wherever you like. Anything that you can put acrylic paint on, or if you were in fabric, if you were fabric paint, you can now add all of your Sakura motifs all over the place, big ones, little ones, whatever size you like. You can use a piece of plastic to cut this out of instead. Use the like acetate, like they used to use for overhead projectors. I know some of y'all are way too young to remember overhead projectors. Go ahead, cut that with your paper punch, or cut it freehand, anything you like. Make a stencil. You can go ahead and use it for painting. If you want to stamp on fabric or stamp on wood, things like that, you can go ahead and take this punch. This brand is actually called Easy Foam for this particular punch. And I was sitting there thinking, well, why is that? Well, I got some craft foam. This is a fairly thick one, but I think it will fit into this foam punch. It doesn't quite, so let me get a thinner. And I seem to have dropped it. But anyway, you can take your thin layers of sticky back craft foam. You'd go ahead and punch out your shapes using the punch. peel the sticky off the back of it, add it to a solid block of something, a sponge, or maybe a solid piece of craft foam. Sometimes we use, I don't know, whatever's handy, some a bottle, whatever recycled material, cardboard, something like that. Then after you have your shape in foam attached, sometimes you might want 2 layers to make it a little thicker. Let me see if I can get this to actually punch through here, because it's kind of hard for me to explain without you seeing what it can actually do. So I think I can get this to work. Also note, I really prefer to punch front to back. So this is the back side here, and I can see exactly where I'm punching. So you squeeze hard. There we go. Now you can see what I'm talking about. Now, it can be a little difficult to get back out, but that was fine. Again, you can have now a thicker size stencil or a sticky back piece of plastic. I take a thicker piece of felt or foam, peel the sticky off the back here, and attach it onto here. Now you're like, well, why did you just do this? Well, I mean, for starters, you could just use this as a kind of sticker. That's fine. But in my case, I would probably put 2 layers of this cutout on top of each other onto another piece of foam or plastic or whatever you have handy. And then you can brush this with your paint or your dye, and you can use it as a stamp. If you were really dexterous with your hands, you could even do a paper, a potato stamp. Like you used to take a potato, maybe you did this in elementary school, slice the potato in half and then carve a shape and then use that to stamp. That's seeing a resurgence in craft circles. But again, all you would do is sort of paint the top of this foam, press it in, and you can stamp as many times with your motif of preference. Customize all of the fabrics in your house. Make yourself maybe something like this. Let me pull behind the curtain. These were purchased, again, from Daiso, but in Japan, they have these little fabric wall scrolls. I think it's fascinating. If you're into anime, you've probably seen them, that instead of posters, sometimes it's fabric, and it comes on a little rod. Here, I'll put it up in front of my face here. You could take any fabric you like, go ahead and stamp with your little stamp, stamp your Sakura motifs, use some extra paint to draw in the stems, and you can just have a really nice little piece of wall art that you can hang anywhere in your house. It can be any size or shape you like. I have some really weird shaped walls, so it helps to make some custom art in these really skinny, narrow areas. I'm looking right behind my screen where I have a strange, like 10-inch wide, strange little indentation around my windows, and it's hard to find decorative pieces that quite go in there. Here's one. Again, from Daiso, this is full bloom, but I'm just showing you this because you can see what it would look like if you stamped. Maybe you had some petals, maybe if you have some full-size flowers, just stamp onto, this is like a little piece of burlap, and hang it up on your wall. So I think we are running out of most of the ideas that I had to show you, kind of how to customize. The last few things are really quite simple. I just want to show you, maybe you're into jewelry or resin crafting and you want to know how that can become incorporated into your home decor. Well, obviously, you can just take magnets and attach this to any cool item. There we go. Now it's on my trackpad and I have a little Sakura magnet. If you don't do resin, and you would like for me to do a class on that, I can certainly do one later in the year. But even if you are not interested in resin, you can still buy these silicone molds that are sold for resin work and use paper clay in them, air dry clay, and then you can paint it or do anything you'd like to decorate it and have your own very lightweight little molds. You can use them for jewelry, you can use them for magnets. There's a bunch of different ways that you can use them in the house. You can create buttons, all sorts of ways to take whatever motif it is that you like and repurpose some of the materials that, again, this is from a dollar store in Japan. I think it was from Saria. But yeah, repurpose some materials. You can make an infinite number of little 3-dimensional flowers that you can use all around the house in different ways. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed tonight. I know it was a bit of a haphazard show and that again, this is hopefully to give you some more ideas, some more inspiration, some inexpensive ways to change up the look of your house. I don't want you to feel like any of this has to be Sakura related. You can probably go ahead and change the camera back to my face because I don't think you'll need to see my messy desk anymore. But I hope you have gotten some ideas for maybe how to add a little bit of spring into your household, maybe give yourself a little bit of the outside coming into the inside, whatever your favorite flower, whatever your favorite season or animal. You can get all of these tools. You can get the molds, the punches, or just shapes, customize it, and your entire house, every bit of it, from the floor to the ceiling, you can customize in some way or other, even if you are renting, because there are all kinds of removable adhesives. In the last 15 years, Command and 3M have come out with all kinds of different products that you can attach anything to the wall, pretty much, even these stupid orange peel walls that we have here in Central Texas, and it will stay. And you can add hangers, little hanging hooks for fabric. You can add little thumbtacks to even have really big things like this. You can have everything completely to your taste and style on a very minimal budget. So if you are still looking at the same horribly ugly walls like I am for 5 years, then it is just your own laziness, which I am completely guilty of. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. Next month on Make Your Monday, we will hopefully be back on schedule. I certainly hope so. Back on the second Monday of the month, where I will be doing Japanese stab binding. It is a bookbinding technique where you can make your own notebooks. It's very simple and tools are minimal. I will have a supply list posted hopefully at least a week in advance. And if not, again, you can always watch the replay later and try to do it yourself. It's a very simple and very satisfying technique. Remember, on Sunday, if you want to learn more about Sakura in general, especially seeing it in Tokyo, Kyoto, and other parts of Japan, please come back Sunday at 2 p.m. at the same location, 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time, where I will be talking about flower viewing, the parties, the foods, the Sakura tram, all kinds of fun and exciting things. I think they're exciting. It's my favorite season to go to Japan. So I hope that you will join me back then again. If you guys have any final questions, please drop them in the chat. I really appreciate you guys staying with me through all the technical difficulties that we've had. And hopefully my internet will hold up again in the future. But if not, I think it's not too bad with just using my phone. So hopefully we will always have that backup available for us. So thank you so much. Have a great evening. And I will see you hopefully on Sunday. See you.